world will tremble before my genius, my power, my... Oh, for the love of science, stop grinning like that.
Micah, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to sit down with Smirks and I hope you're doing well, but can you introduce yourself to everybody and let us know what your preferred pronouns are?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, and hello everybody. My name is Micah. I go by he, him. I'm the co-founder of ZAM, the indie animation studio. I'm a writer, animator, director, voice actor. I do the voice of Freddy Fazbear in Fazbear and Friends, and Among Us, Among Us, Among Us, and Bubba Bubbaphant in Poppy Playtime, amongst others. I've been in the animation scene for over a decade now. Yeah, just done a lot of animation stuff at various studios. I used to work at Mob Entertainment, I work at Glitch Productions, and of course I work at ZAM. Working on a lot of various projects. I work on the Amazing Digital Circus, Fazbear and Friends, Poppy Playtime, Murder Drones, lots of cool stuff. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Sweet. Well, we really do appreciate you. Smirks, you're up to bat with the first question.
You and your brother started ZAMination at 13. What was the moment where you realized, wait, this could actually be our career?
Yeah, so I can actually pinpoint the exact moment. So when we first started out, it was all just for fun. It was like a hobby thing. We actually started posting stuff on Instagram before we were ever on YouTube, and we were just making like Minecraft animations on the Instagram. But Instagram had a 1 minute limit to their videos, so eventually we were like, oh, we need somewhere that we can post longer videos, and that ended up being YouTube. But yeah, after making like, probably like a dozen videos on the tiny ZAMination YouTube channel, we made one fan animation of a Minecraft YouTuber called the Diamond Minecart. I think the video was called like Dan TDM Snowball Fight or something like that, and it got 4 million views, which was like insane to us at the time, because I think everything we post would only get like, in the thousands. So that was like, I think we got like maybe like $500 from that video. And that was like, holy moly, we're rich. Like, this was at the time, because we were like 13 or something. This is at the time where we would be saving up like $20 to buy like a Lego set. So like, we'd be like, oh my gosh, $500, we're like set for life. So that was actually kind of the moment we were like, oh, this could make like real money. We can actually just like do this as our job. And yeah, luckily our parents were really supportive of this newfangled world of making money on the internet. So like the last 2 years of high school, our parents let us be homeschooled so that we could focus on making this into a career. And that's kind of how it turned into a career for us.
I love that your parents were so supportive of that. That's really freaking cool.
Yeah, I'm always so grateful about that, because so many of my friends that I know, their parents are like very like traditional, like you have to go to college. Like, what are you doing trying to make money on the internet? This is weird. This is like, I won't stand for this. But yeah, I'm always super grateful to my parents, and without them being as supportive as they were, I probably wouldn't be doing this right now.
No, I completely understand. I know if I told my mom, hey, I want to, make money on the internet, she would have looked at me and go, no, you're going to go on Broadway and you're going to tap dance. You're going to do that right now.
Yeah.
That's how she was. I completely understand that. So from viral Minecraft animations to working on massive indie hits, how has your creative vision evolved since the ZAMination YouTube days?
So, like honestly, I'd say a lot of my goals are kind of the same, but certain exceptions of things are different. Like probably the biggest change to when I like very first started is that I really want to make sure that whatever we make, we keep creative control of it, more or less doing it the quote-unquote indie way, like not making our company go public, or like, producing stuff through the traditional Hollywood system, like keeping things indie. But the things I want to make are kind of the same as they've always been. I mean, even just like what we're doing right now, just making animation consistently with a great team is, I mean, that's already a dream come true. That's like what I would have always dreamed of when I was a kid, so I'm always grateful about that. One of my long-term goals that has always been the case since I was a little kid, that's still on the horizon, is making a feature-length animated film, like directing and making it through our own studio. It's a really big dream of mine, and working our way to get there still. Because part of my inspiration to even get into animation in the first place was always like a huge one was Pixar movies, and I still watch them like all the time now. So like being brought up on like Pixar movies and stuff like that, like that my goal has always been to, you know, more or less make one of those. I want to make a feature-length animated film that's just like heartwarming, funny, just like a great time all around. That's always been one of the things at the top of my bucket list.
What is your favorite Pixar film?
Oh boy, that question has plagued me. There's so many good ones. It's a fight between Incredibles or Toy Story 2. Incredibles is just like really subversive and just like so well written and acted, and Toy Story 2 is also just really funny. So I like both of those a lot. Those are huge inspirations. A lot of inspirations from like Pixar, if I was to point them out, are pretty visible in our content sometimes.
I love that. Both are great choices. I love both of those movies.
Yeah, they're classics.
And there's a second Incredibles, right?
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Oh wow, you don't like the second one?
I'm an Incredibles 2 hater a little bit. There's things it's not all bad. It's definitely, if it was like a standalone movie and it didn't have the first one weighing on its shoulders, it would be like fine. But like it definitely does not hit the same kind of highs that the first one does, and I feel like a lot of the characters kind of got deconstructed in ways that feel a lot less complex, but I won't get into that right now.
That'll be funny to mention because, like, I'm like, I could have sworn there was a second one. It just like everyone completely forget about it.
Yeah, when you have to recall that it even exists, that's not usually the best sign.
So you were early collaborators with Mob. What was it like moving across the country as teenagers to help build a company from scratch?
At first, I wasn't like really that scared at all. The only thing going through my mind when we started was just like how excited I was to finally be doing like, you know, a real studio with real people in a physical space making stuff. Because that was like a huge jump for me. It was like, oh my gosh, this is real now. So at the time, I was like not really like intimidated. I was just kind of like bright-eyed and didn't know what I didn't know kind of thing. I would say like around the time Poppy Playtime Chapter 2 was like in production was really where I started like kind of seeing how complex and hard it is to kind of like, you know, work and run a studio. Is like, oh, this is like, you know, this is real now. Like there was a lot of things that I suddenly had to learn and be responsible for that I never knew about or expected before, like, you know, managing people and keeping budget in check. And I mean, honestly, even just dealing with burnout, because at that point I don't think I had felt burnout before, because I was always just so excited I could just work like through the night and not be like the least bit burnt out. But that's when I kind of started like feeling the realities of like, oh, this is getting so big that it is becoming work too. It's not just a hobby anymore. Not to say it wasn't like, you know, fun to learn that stuff, but that around that time is when it kind of started sinking in. It's like, oh yeah, I gotta lock in and like really know what I'm doing, or this could all like go away.
So do you have a network of other artists that you are friends with, and how do they support you?
Yeah, I my network of friends is kind of a little bit like everywhere, at least in the animation space and game space. Like I have friends from like Disney, Spindlehorse, Glitch, ILM, nerdcore music artists. There's kind of just like a little bit from everywhere in the industry. And yeah, it's just like, I think it's important if you're in this space to just talk to everyone else who is in it and just like make friends and connections. Because like you never know where a friendship could lead. Like, I think a good example of that is my brother Zach was friends with Robin, aka Kitten Sneeze. She makes like music videos, and through that friendship, like she eventually, you know, worked on one of our videos and animated a shot on Happy Place. And another example too is me and Zachary got our jobs at Glitch Productions because we used to have like shop calls between Mob and Glitch, where we would just like, talk about what each company had going on, just kind of like a courtesy, just like, hey, what's up? And like through just reaching out and making friends, eventually that's how they knew of us. And then they saw me and Zachary's writing on the Fazbear and Friends Squid Game short, and that's what got them to ask us if we wanted to be writers at Glitch. So, like, yeah, that just goes to show, just like make friends, make connections, and just network in your space, and that a lot of opportunities will present themselves from that.
I love that Squid Game short. It's so freaking funny.
I'm a coming, Elliot! Are those lasers? Oh, I think I'm good.
I'm glad you like it.
So, we've been asking people that we've been interviewing to share some of their favorite fan art. Do you mind sending us some that we can share? And do you have any favorite artists out there that you'd like to shout out?
Yeah, I don't think I can name too much off the top of my head. The only one that like immediately comes to mind is right after we made Poppy Playtime Chapter 1, a animation channel called GHS made a Poppy Playtime music video. I forget what the title is, but the song went like, I wanna live, da 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 da. But that music video was like super cool to see, because that was the first legitimate kind of like larger scale fan content I had ever received on something I did. So that was really cool. That's just a very memorable one for me.
I feel like I ended up watching that at some point.
I know, I've seen it.
Yeah, it blew up when it came out. I think it has like almost like 200 million views.
I know they have a lot of good Poppy Playtime stuff on their channel, and then there's a bunch of other things. But
yeah, it's a bit of a mixed bag.
Yeah, I like a lot of their Poppy Playtime animations, along with some of the I think they've done some stuff for Doors though. That's really cool. They seem to like doing stuff for Poppy.
Yeah.
Speaking of Poppy and Mob, you helped design, or you helped animate the iconic Huggy Wuggy chase scene. How did you approach designing something that scary inside of a kid's toy factory?
Yeah, so honestly, on this question, a lot of what I'm going to be talking about is not even animation related, because I feel like so much of what made that part effective is like everything but the animation. Like, I think a big part of it is that vent chase feeling really claustrophobic, which, I mean, credit to Isaac. He kind of designed that whole chase, having it take place in a super tight like vent, I think is like a lot of what makes that scary. And on that same kind of note, I think a big thing that helped was just scale. And what I mean by that is, for a while we were really trying to figure out like the horror of Poppy Playtime and how to really make it work. Because for the longest time, Poppy Playtime actually took place in a house, and you were shrunken down to the size of a toy, and all the toys in your house came to life and were chasing you. So it was kind of similar to Poppy Playtime, except the environment was huge and you were small. And we had to figure out over time, like, I don't think that is working scare-wise. So eventually we made the choice, like, okay, you are normal sized, but these toys are, like, massive. They're, like, giant, like, a mascot that you would see, in the lobby of somewhere, like in Chapter 1. And I think that really helped it be scary, rather than it being a normal toy size and you're just small. Because, like, you're used to seeing... You get a lot more frame of reference of objects around you that you know the normal scale of. So to see something so big in it really just hits harder. And all that's to say, I think that's part of what made the vent chase so scary, is just how big Huggy is, and he can barely squeeze into there. And in terms of the animation, I guess just like making him look like he's squished and he is like using all his might to try and chase you. Oh, actually, one thing that I think was pretty important to making the animation part scary there is having Huggy's face look directly at you no matter what. Seeing that like piercing gaze is always going to be more scary than if you saw him trying to, like, I don't know, look around or try to find his footing. He's like, instead his eyes are like directly on you the whole time. I think that's part of how he got that scare to be effective.
Definitely was an iconic chase scene.
It was. I think you're spot on with the whole gaze thing, because if most horror games, a lot of the I guess the lower effort ones, not to knock anything specific, but like you'll usually just have the model looking dead forward and just takes out of the immersion. So having something that's targeting towards you definitely helps with the intensity of the situation.
Yeah, we really tried to capture what we could. I mean, it was our first time making a game and even any like horror related thing. So, I mean, a lot of our inspiration we took was from like movies, just horror movies that we really liked. And I mean, I could mention like a billion things from Poppy Playtime that are based on certain horror movies we saw, but I'm glad it turned out good, especially being our first one.
Yeah, I remember
It was
Isaac
awesome.
talking about the Babadook a lot.
Yeah, a lot of Babadook, a lot of Hereditary.
Oh, I still gotta watch Hereditary.
Oh, it's good.
I'm now just seeing those questions.
You're welcome.
Thanks. You created Sir Poops Alot. Be honest,
I
was
sure
that
did.
a dare, a joke gone too far, or just peak art?
It's peak art. I'll be honest. So like the backstory around Sir Poops Alot is I had the task of coming up with every toy that would show up in, it was called the reject room. So basically all the toys that didn't make it to market or were too stupid or too weird or defective, I had to make all those up. So automatically the first thing that came to my mind when I was thinking like, okay, what is a terrible toy I know of? Because we like to base our Poppy Playtime toys off of real toys that exist to kind of capture that like nostalgia, or I kind of remember something like that. But the first thing that came to my mind was these weird commercials that I would see at my grandma's house while like watching Cartoon Network when I was like 8, about like these pooping toys, like these toys that their whole gimmick was that they poop. And I just thought that was like the weirdest thing ever. Like, who would buy that? So I immediately knew the first thing I wanted to do was just have like a pooping toy. So yeah, at that point I was just like, okay, how do I make this look like really stupid? Because I also had to do the concept art for that one. I based it very heavily off of that stupid Garfield plush. You might know which one I'm talking about. You could throw an image up on the screen if you have it, but it's very heavily based on that Garfield plush. There was a lot of people when the game came out that they thought Sir Poops Alot was supposed to be like a jab at like FNAF or Freddy Fazbear because he's like a bear. I guess like in retrospect I can see why you would think that, because I mean he's a brown bear and he has a hat. But it was never meant to be like a FNAF jab or anything. It was literally just trying to make like a stupid poop toy. So yeah, that's the lore around the peak art that is Sir Poops Alot.
Wait, does that mean you also designed the pet stone?
I mean, there's not really much design around that one, but I guess kind of.
It's my favorite one, though.
Literally just a rock with googly eyes.
You can't go wrong with a rock with googly eyes. You cannot.
Yeah.
So, can you describe a scene or design in Poppy Playtime that you're secretly most proud of, but most people overlook?
Yeah. So I'm gonna fight for my boy here, but I really like Boxy Boo's design still. I know Boxy Boo got a lot of hate when he released, but I think the reason he got so much hate is that he didn't get his chance to shine animation-wise in any sort of like cinematic or like cutscene form. Because what he ended up being used for was like, Project Playtime, and the animations in that were a lot more like, I mean, being a game where you control a character, it was like the animations were a lot more standard. He was just like walking on 2 legs with a walk cycle and sometimes would shoot out his arm, but we had so many ideas for how he would move in unique and creative ways when we came up with his design that I just think if he got like a chance to get a full cutscene in the way that like, Mommy Longlegs or Huggy or Catnap did in those chapters, I think people would have really been like, oh, that's actually pretty cool. So I hope someday Boxy Boo gets actually a cutscene with really cool animation, because we designed him to be able to like swing around with his arms or like launch himself and roll around in the box, or just a lot of these like cool movement styles. Because whenever we came up with Poppy Playtime villains in the past, we would always really focus on unique functionality and movement, and I think Boxy Boo was probably one of my favorites, so I continue to fight for my boy. On that same topic, I think these aren't necessarily overlooked, but two Poppy Playtime things I'm still really proud of is the first two cinematic teaser trailers for Chapter 3. I just really like... There's the one with where it's zooming in on the gas mask, and then the one where you see a shrine in another teaser, and you're seeing like the play care for the first time. I just really like the atmospheric kind of horror in both of those. It's really carried by like sound and music. There's not like, it's not all like jump scares and loud boom sounds. I really like how it's a slow build up of like weird and creepy audio. So I'm pretty happy with those still.
Yeah, Boxy's definitely slept on. I would love
Absolutely.
to see more stuff with him, like because some of this, like the cool stuff of like be standing there and then just having him slowly lower himself down with his arm would be terrifying. Like so many cool things they could do with that.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff you could do with Boxy, but a lot of it is very animation dependent, and he only really got to be in Project Playtime, and like, you know, like I said, being first person and you controlling him, his animations obviously kind of have to be a little more limited, so it was like, darn, he didn't really get to shine in the way that we wanted him to.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people want to see him in any aspect in the mainline game at this point, because a lot of people did, like, they probably did have a little bit of, I guess, issues with the design. I like him personally. I think a lot of people, I think, more so like him, and definitely have grown on the design at this point, but I think he's iconic enough to have a lot of people batting for him to make any appearance aside from just a VHS cameo in Chapter 3.
I mean, I think the fact that people still want it so bad goes to show that they at least see the potential there.
I mean, lore-wise, he's just a bigger body that's running around with no. He's just MIA. I think a lot of people really. I think we're almost due to see him at this point in some regard.
Yeah, we were gonna. I remember brainstorming the story of Chapter 3 with Isaac, Zachary, and Seth Belanger, and we were gonna have Boxy Boo have a scene in Chapter 3. I don't remember why we didn't. There was some reason, but we wanted Boxy Boo to appear in the game pretty bad, but yeah, not there anymore, so I don't know if they ever plan on putting him in the game or not, but I guess we'll see.
I sure hope so. That's two toys that start with B that got screwed out of Chapter 3.
What was it? Oh, was it Braun?
Yep. Yep.
Did
Good old
you
Braun.
hear about the Braun like truck chase?
Yep.
Yeah.
We heard about that when we are talking about talking to Isaac about it.
Yeah, nice.
Chapter 3 probably would have been my favorite chapter at that point if those two things made it in. What we could have had.
Yeah.
So, you were involved in the Adventure Mode series before it was shelved. If it had been released, what do you think would have surprised fans the most about it?
Well, actually, you don't really have to wonder, because when we left Mob, we took the rights to Adventure Mode with us, and we handed those rights off to Coffin Cat, which is an animation team formed by like the original creators of Adventure Mode, the voice actors of the main cast, and they kind of made everything. They all since left Mob and formed Coffin Cat, so they have Adventure Mode now, and they're deep into production on episode 2. So yeah, it's not a what if, it's just a when at this point. Yeah, if you're a fan of Adventure Mode and want to follow it, definitely check out Coffin Cat on all their social media, and the Adventure Mode YouTube channel. They already have a teaser up for the next episode. I'm really glad they got to work on that more, because they were really excited about it. I think working on Adventure Mode in the Mob office with that small group, Elijah, Avalon, Madeline, Anthony, it's kind of the core group there. was probably one of my favorite just work experiences in my entire career. It was just a really tight-knit team, and we all just had a lot of fun working together.
So moving on to the ZAMination and Glitch era. So after leaving Mob, you rebuilt ZAMination independently. What was the biggest lesson you took from your Mob experience that you applied to running your own studio?
Oh yes, many lessons. Yeah, I learned a lot from my time at Mob, good and bad. I'd say some of the major things is communication is very important, just in a lot of ways. It's important to keep people up to date on what your plans are as a studio, just keeping everyone in the know, communicating to people that they're appreciated. Just like, there's a lot of people involved in making big projects like that, and a lot of them do a lot of work for you, so it's really important to let them know that they're appreciated and tell them good job, and just really try to foster that kind of that culture of appreciation, and making it feel like we're all in this together, not just you're a cog in this machine or something like that. And yeah, say along with the communication part in that same vein, just if you're in a situation where you're in production and someone is like, underperforming, for example, it's really important to communicate and talk to them and just really figure out how to get to the root of the problem and solve it with them, rather than just, giving them a markup or, God forbid, just firing them for making a mistake. So yeah, definitely one of the big things, communication. Just, I learned a lot about how important that is, and we've been applying that at ZAMination. Another one is focusing on brand integrity is very, very important. Yeah, it's important not to just say yes to every opportunity that's thrown at you to, make some cash or some collaboration or something. It's really important to think about what kind of partnerships or like initiatives and how those will reflect on your brand image that you're trying to build, because what really pays off in the end is like brand loyalty and having an audience that really knows that you care about what you do. And it just that's become very important, especially for us at ZAMination since leaving Mob. And the last thing, obviously there's others, but the last I would mention here is I think it's really important to only start a project if you are really passionate about it. People can smell a lack of passion from like a mile away if you're making something where the sole purpose is like to, turn a profit or something. Like, if you're gonna start a project, you need a creative visionary who is actually passionate and is going to champion, the look and the art, and just really be that person who's excited for this and makes everyone else excited, because, that kind of stuff comes from the top down. So I've definitely learned over time that if a project comes into existence for the sole reason of making money, people will smell that, and people are not going to attach to it the way that they would attach to something that was, started out of a creative drive to just bring it to life. Like I said, I learned a lot of good, learned a lot of bad. Just, I learned a lot from it, and I hope that everyone who experienced those things with me has also learned a lot too.
Happy Place and Follow the Orders marked a big shift in tone and style. What inspired those animations, and what challenges did you face making the leap from Minecraft to original storytelling?
So yeah, something we're on the path towards and have kind of always been is we really want to make just, an original animated series on ZAM. And by original, I mean like fully original characters, not based on another IP, fully original art direction, stuff like that. And Follow the Orders and Happy Place, that was kind of like challenging, especially Follow the Orders was challenging ourselves to see like, okay, let's see if we've got what it takes to make a fully original art style and like push it through the production process. So yeah, that was a big learning experience for us, like just doing that whole video in a completely original style. We had concept art, We had, what's it called? Color scripts. Yeah, color scripts. Yeah, we just went through the whole film pipeline if you were going to make something that art heavy. And Happy Place was more or less the same deal, just testing the waters with new animation styles and workflows. Like there was 2D, there was stop motion looking stuff. There was we just experimented with a lot of different animation styles in anticipation for that knowledge coming to use whenever we do finally get started on, fully producing an original animated series on ZAM. And I would even say Fazbear and Friends Episode 5, Extermination, the one where they kill everyone. I think that was also a really big test for us in that same way. We were like, okay, let's see if we can make a full TV length episode, because that's definitely the longest thing we've made up to this point. It's almost 13 minutes long. And let's see if we can, make it in a timely manner, keep it in budget, and also, have the writing be good. We hadn't really written something at that length and released it before. And yeah, we learned a lot of lessons through all those videos, and I'm really proud of how Follow the Orders looks, especially. I really like how that art style kind of turned out, and I'm excited for people to see our original series whenever that comes around, and see just the culmination of all our experimenting and just all the knowledge we've learned on how to just make really cool stuff.
Oh, I can't wait. Seeing how episode 5 turned out and how well it was done, I was like, I cannot wait to see what all ZAMination's got planned, because this is good. This is so freaking good.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it. It's, obviously we'd love to just do original full series now, but as is with the indie animation scene, it is hard to get money without losing creative control over things. So
yeah.
The process has been a bit of a slow burn to, get to that point where we have the resources to fully go all in and make it without having to worry too much about risk. We could do it now, it would just be very risky, because the last thing we want, is to put out an original show and it fails, and then we're starting from ground zero again. It's oh boy. So just taking our time. Definitely don't want to rush into things, and it is going to be very awesome whenever we do get to it.
So you've worked with Glitch on Digital Circus, Murder Drones, and SMG4. What's your favorite character you've helped shape, and why?
Yeah, I would say my favorite character I think we've helped shape is Mr. Puzzles from SMG4, and I would say the reason behind that is because me and Zachary were fully tasked when we came on with basically bringing him to life, because at that point he was only a design, and he didn't really have... he never existed in a full scene before, so we were kind of given the task of okay, give him life. What is his personality? What are his mannerisms? How does he talk? What is his who is Mr. Puzzles? And Zach and I got the opportunity to do some writing tests, and we also were a big part in writing the Puzzle Vision movie, that very first one. And my brother Zach also made the Creative Control song, which I think brings a lot of life and personality to Mr. Puzzles. So he's definitely the one that we had the most involvement in shaping. But we didn't characters that I like writing a lot for Glitch, but we didn't necessarily help shape that much, is definitely the Digital Circus cast. We write those characters for pretty much everything that's not the show. So we get to have a lot of fun with those guys, and I really like cartoony stuff, and those characters are super fun. And Goose, the creator of Digital Circus, seems to trust Zach and I a lot with representing those characters accurately. So that's been really fun to work with those guys.
That's so cool.
You guys definitely created a fan, or helped shape a fan favorite of Mr. Puzzles. I think Creative Control is still one of my favorite music videos that came out of Glitch so far.
Yeah, thanks. We've also had, I guess this is out now, so I could talk about this. We had a lot of involvement in creating. This is a new character came out in SMG4 called Mr. Weapons, Zach and I also had a lot of involvement with kind of bringing that character to life and that story, and some other stuff coming up that's not quite out yet that you'll get to see.
Nice. What does a day in your life look like now that you juggle ZAMination with creative directing, marketing campaigns for Glitch?
I mean, I'm not gonna. I love it. Obviously, I get to work on so much cool stuff, but I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It is so busy. Like, this is probably the busiest I've almost ever been in my career lately. Yeah, lots of 10 to 12 hour days. Usually, what it looks like is the first half of our day is, I say our because I'm gonna say our a lot in this whole interview because I'm usually talking about both me and Zachary because we work so closely together. But yeah, first half of the day working on ZAMination stuff, do animation dailies and critiques and just any other kind of individual contributor work we have. And then around 2-3 p.m. in the day, kind of switch into glitch mode and start. We have at Glitch, me and Zachary kind of we receive a review playlist where we'll just open it and there will be a bunch of work in progress things for like a billion various different things. One will be like a render in progress of, Uzi and N at Hot Topic or something because they're going to do a release for that. And then maybe the other one is like the poster for murder drones on Amazon Prime or something. And we'll go down the list and just give all our notes and do stuff like that. And then the last half of the day is usually just like, being in Glitch meetings, whether it's, merchandise related stuff or marketing campaigns for Knights of Guinevere or Gaslight District or just anything they have coming up. But yeah, it's usually my day is divided in half, but it is quite busy, but I get to work on a lot of really cool stuff, so I'm very grateful.
You're being busy while also having fun with it.
Yeah.
So you've helped design thumbnails, posters, and even company logos. What's the most important element when crafting a visual that's meant to stop someone mid-scroll?
Oh boy. I mean, I've done a lot of this kind of stuff. I've made hundreds and hundreds of thumbnails and dozens of logos. But I've never been like formally trained in that kind of thing, so I don't really know what I'm doing. But I guess if I was to say the kind of things that I'm usually looking for when I start something like that is, I think a lot of the time it's important to tell a story in especially a thumbnail. Just based on one image, be able to kind of garner like a situation out of it. Like it's like a still of a story and you can get the full context based on one image. I think that's pretty important. And I think definitely another one that I've kind of been trying to focus on, I'm not usually the best at it, but is being simple. And what I mean by that is like, I guess not overstuffing your thumbnail with like so many elements or too many things going on that it just kind of looks like mush. Because there's definitely some thumbnails that, I mean, this isn't too much of a jab, but I think the thumbnails for Hell of a Boss are a little messy sometimes. It's a little hard to know what I'm like looking at. But I like when thumbnails have maybe like, 2 to 3 main elements to look at, and you can really tell what the situation is going on in the thumbnail, and just, simplicity over complexity. And then just being different is a big one. Just looking at all the other thumbnails and or images in your space and seeing what is regularly done and seeing like, okay, how can I make my image look very different from everyone else's? This isn't even like a thumbnail thing specifically. Like, for example, we're thinking about doing a booth at some point at MomoCon or some other convention. And when we were wandering around, we were just looking at every other booth and kind of thinking to ourselves, like, okay, what's making these booths look so similar, and what could make it stand out? Like, for example, a lot of the booths are really over-designed and really complicated, which is a good standout thing on its own, but they all try to do that. So it's like, what if you had a booth that was just completely white? Like, that would stand out very, very obviously amongst that kind of crowd. And that's kind of the same approach I usually like to take with thumbnails when I can, or like logos and stuff. Just like what looks really different and is going to stand out from the crowd.
You're sitting there talking about how things look, noisy, a mess. And I'm sitting like looking at my thumbnails going, yeah, this is accurate. I have to send them to Anna sometimes. And she was like, Tippers, what did you do? And I was like, I just started panicking and I just started throwing things on and I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I'm still not. I don't think I'm like I don't always follow these rules. I definitely am still learning all the time, so a lot of my thumbnails are really messy too. But those are usually the mindsets I go in with. Not to say it always works, but that's like what I try to get out of it.
So, out of everything you've voiced, animated, or directed, what's the deep cut project you wish more people would talk about?
Yeah, I tried thinking really hard on this one, but like, I mean, fortunately, I'm in a position where I mean, almost everything I've been a part of has like a fan base. There's not that many things that I've done where it's like, oh, I wish more people talked about this, which I'm super grateful for. Almost like, yeah, a lot of stuff I've worked on has a lot of people talking about it. So I guess my answer would be, because this, I don't have a deep cut to pull from, but just something I'm really proud of still is Fazbear and Friends episode 5, Extermination, the one we just put out recently. I'm so proud of how that turned out in every aspect, from the story, the jokes, the visuals, the lighting, animation. Just like I'm really happy with every aspect of that. And since like one of my big goals is just to do really narrative driven stuff like movies or TV shows, being able to do something like that was a full, more or less a full 12-minute TV episode, and just we did a really good job. That was really comforting to me. It was like, yes, I think we know what we're doing. Like I think we've got this whenever we, start doing this more and more and get into the realm of more original IP. And I guess for a little bit of context on why I'm so proud of that too, is there was a project at Mob that me and Zachary were directing for a long time, and our co-owner of ZAMination, Andy, was also working on. It was called Robopolis. It was an animated, series about robots. It got teased a little bit, but it never came to fruition. We had done a lot of writing on that. I think we wrote like 4 episodes, anywhere from 11 to 22 minutes each. But they were our first attempts at doing stuff like that. So, they were fun, but they definitely weren't like great. So being able to, we had learned a lot since then, and I think all of our knowledge from working on Robopolis really got to shine in Fazbear and Friends Extermination. So that was a cool payoff for me, and then just the whole team that worked on it. Everyone did such a good job.
Episode 5 was chef's kiss. Like it's so good, and I'm so excited to see where ZAM is going with everything they're working on. The future's looking great for you all.
Yeah, thanks. I'm really excited too. We have a lot of ideas floating around. I think we have maybe like 3 or 4 different main series concepts that we've been continuing to iterate on for the last like year. So we'll see. We'll see which one comes out of that.
So you've contributed to a lot of lore writing, especially in Poppy. What's your process for building a cohesive universe?
Yeah, so doing all the Poppy lore and stuff. I mean, that was my first time doing anything like that too. So again, I don't think I have it all figured out or anything, but I guess some of the stuff that I gleaned and learned from doing it is very, very important to keep your facts straight and, more or less have a master doc or something where you have all your information that you've set up in a very easy to navigate and easy to read place. Because the last thing you want to do is contradict your own lore, because then it makes you seem like you don't know what you're doing, even though a lot of times it is just an honest mistake, like you forgot you did something. Because, especially with something like Poppy Playtime, the lore is so specific and extensive. Like, definitely the thing that's bit us the most in the butt is, like, giving specific dates for like when certain toy characters were supposed to have been released in universe and accidentally contradicting that. So yeah, it's important to keep your facts straight. And also another thing that I found really important in doing lore, and you gotta be really careful with this one, but you're not always gonna know everything. Like if you ask like Scott Cawthon or the Meatly or anybody, like they have no idea what their worlds are, I'll be honest. Like neither did we. A lot of it is just planting seeds for things that you don't know entirely where they're going to go and just seeing what sticks. But it's really important that when you plant those seeds, you at least have some semblance of an idea of what the answer to it will be, even if it's not fully developed, because that's definitely a slippery slope with, like, you know, introducing things that you don't know where they're going to go, and then you don't pay it off good because you didn't have a plan for it. But overall, the concept of planting seeds, even if you don't know exactly what's going to happen, that's been a really important thing in building a world, especially with a community like this, where everyone's just, like, you know, so engaged. You just get to see what people are gravitating towards and kind of build it based on that. I think a good example of how not to do that correctly is Star Wars The Force Awakens. They established a lot of things in that where the director didn't know where they were going to go, and then eventually when he paid them off, it was all lame and no one liked it. So, I mean, it's fun to introduce things because everyone's like, ooh, I can't wait to see where this goes, but, you know, everyone's imagination of where it's going to go is always going to be the most exciting version in their heads. So you just got to be really careful about what the answer is to those questions you put out there.
So you voiced everyone from Freddy to Apex Male 69. Want to do a quick Wait, what? I didn't see this question. I'm sorry.
You never read anything I send you.
I read most of it. I didn't anticipate the Sir Poops Alot question, but it was a nice surprise. So you voiced everyone from Freddy to Apex Male 69. Want to do a quick Micah's character gauntlet? 3 voices back to back of your favorites.
Yeah, I have a couple of favorites. One I like to do all the time is Baldy, because I like doing crazy characters that go blah, blah, blah. So there we go. I like doing Baldy a lot. There's also a character I only got to do once, but I really like doing the voice for. I'm gonna try. It takes a lot out of me, this voice. Let me see if I can do it. Hey, dude, my name is Merch Shark. You want to buy some Fazbear and Friends merch? I don't even know if that went through the mic. Yeah, there was a character called Merch Shark that I voiced in one short, and I really like doing that voice, but oh my gosh, it takes a lot out of me. And then one that I get to do a lot that I like too is just your good old-fashioned Freddy Fazbear. This one's definitely the most, like, in my normal kind of range. It's just like a little bit of I don't even know what you call it, maybe a little bit of a southern accent, but yeah, this one's kind of just my normal voice for the most part, so that one's always fun to do. It's very easy.
Took me back home to Kentucky.
There you go, that's my 3.
All phenomenal.
I love the Merch Shark cameo.
Is there any character you'd love to voice but haven't gotten a chance to yet?
That one up.
Oh, sorry.
The Merch Shark got him.
The Merch Shark. So is there any character you'd love to voice but haven't gotten a chance to yet, either in your own work or someone else's?
Not really, honestly. I'm not usually, like, begging to, like, oh, I need to voice this character. Usually most of the voices I end up doing kind of, like, come out of necessity. Like Baldy or Merch Shark or a lot of the Fazbear and Friends characters. It's just kind of like, you know, we don't really have anyone to voice those characters, so it's like, you know, I guess I'll do it. That's how a lot of my roles usually come to be. Like, yeah, like a lot of the Poppy Playtime voices, like Braun, I do. I did Huggy once, because Zachary wasn't available. Me and Zachary switch off voices for almost everyone we do interchangeably, because we're twins and we have the exact same voice. But yeah, I guess not particularly. I always like getting the opportunities when I can. I get to do a lot of impressions of characters for Glitch production stuff, but it never sees the light of day because whenever we're working on animations or even like just merchandise ads, just like we always do the temp voices first with our own voice. So usually it's just me and Zachary doing the voice for, like, you know, Pomni, Kane, Jax, Zubul, like everybody. So a lot of those voices are fun to do. Like, I get to do Kane from Digital Circus a lot as a temporary voice. And then I also get to do Kinger a lot in the temp voice, but, you know, no one ever gets to see it because it never really gets released, you know?
I love Kinger. They're my favorite. I was so ecstatic to have lunch with Sean Chiplock.
That's cool. Oh, there's a couple times where the final actors of things will misalign or something, and either me or Zachary's temp voice will end up in the final occasionally. This happened on Fazbear and Friends a couple times, where some of Bendy's lines will be either me or Zachary instead of Michael Kovac, or I think there was one with Boris as well. Instead of Zach Fuller, it was just like, I think it was, Zach P, my brother, doing it. Just sometimes stuff like that will happen.
The fact that you all can even do that Bendy voice, because I can't go that high, I commend you all. My God.
I love doing the Bendy voice. It's so funny. I would do it, but I don't think it's going to go through the mic.
Working closely with your partner, Zach, how do your creative strengths complement one another, and do you have any dream collaborations planned together?
Like I mentioned earlier, I say us a lot whenever talking about the stuff we do, because like I couldn't do anything I do without Zach. We're like yin and yang. Like, we do everything together. We've lived our whole lives together, been inspired by the same things, and all our creative endeavors have always been together. We're always a unit, to the point where everywhere we've worked so far, people always refer to us as the Zams, because, we always do stuff together. But yeah, whenever we're like, we're really in sync a lot, which is a blessing and a curse, especially when it comes to writing, because when we're writing stuff, we'll always be on the same page, which is good a lot of the time, but we also don't have... We have all the same life experiences, so there's not a lot of, like, I guess, new experience to kind of take from other people and help inspire things sometimes. That's why we usually like having another person, when we can, available in the room who, isn't us, because we've lived the exact same life experiences, and a lot of writing is kind of taking stuff from your life and breathing it into what you're doing. A very frequent collaborator for us in writing is Isaac, the ex-director of Poppy Playtime. He's definitely one of the most talented writers I know. He's really good at just keeping high-level story in check and just really doing things at a broad level. But yeah, back to the question of working with Zachary. Yeah, we're always in sync, and we really have the same drive to do the same stuff, and I'm so grateful to have him always as a wall to bounce off of, and yeah, I couldn't do what I do without Zach being there. In terms of dream collaborations, definitely both of our dreams still is to direct a feature-length animated movie together. Whatever we end up doing, we're always going to be co-directing together, because, we're a unit. We always do stuff together, and that's definitely our biggest dream right now, is to direct a feature film together.
So I got a chance to say hi to you briefly at MomoCon. I technically met you earlier back in December at MFF, but it was so cool to see how you connected, you and Zach both, with the community. How has attending cons impacted your growth?
Yeah, I mean, more than anything, going to cons has just been like super motivating. It just really, gives meaning to everything we're doing and kind of reminds us why we're doing it. At least so far, going to cons hasn't ever really been like a financial incentive, because, we're mainly going to just like connect with our community and meet the people watching, and also meet fellow creators. It's just like engaging with our community is like, one of the most motivating things I can possibly think of while working in this space.
That is so cool. I personally love attending cons, mostly because they're like my only vacation that I get, but also just from the networking standpoint of actually getting to meet new people and be like, hey, we share the same interests and you all are really cool. Hi.
Yeah, this going to cons, especially MomoCon, is always like, I'm so motivated to get back to work afterwards, because it's like, yeah, this is what it's all about.
Same. I got inspired by quite a few things. I literally, the day after, was already like sitting down and putting calendars and stuff together, making a new server and writing all kinds of stuff down. I know that we're trying to anyway, getting Smirks to MomoCon next year.
Nice, that's awesome.
I missed out. There's so much cool stuff there. I was just jealous the whole time. So, creative blocks are real. When you hit one, what helps you get back into the flow or rediscover your spark?
Yeah, so there's definitely a couple things. One, we just talked about it, is cons. Cons is a huge one. I'm always so reinvigorated to get back into work after a con, mainly because of getting to, interact with the fan base and really put faces to names and just see who's enjoying our content and how it really like speaks to people, regardless of how stupid the content might be. But actually seeing its effect on people is like such a motivator, and it does help me get past like, creative slumps too. And even outside of cons, just interacting with fans in general on like social media or on Discord is always something I find a lot of motivation in doing. I really like to just talk to the ZAMination community a lot and just really feel involved and feel like I'm part of that community. It's not as fun to do it when your community is just kind of like a distant thing that you never really interact with. And then the last thing I think is kind of just touching grass. Like sometimes like going outside and not thinking about work at all or taking a vacation is really, really good, specifically for bringing new creative inspiration into the fold. Just, I mean, all creative ideas come from some sort of, lived experience. So just having more lived experiences and not being inside working all the time just allows you to, have more life experience to pull from and be creative with. Just like, for example, I went to my first, music concert with my friend Andy. It was a 21 Pilots concert. I hadn't been to anything like that, whereas like, billion fans and flashing lights and stuff, but even just like experiencing something like that was really cool. And being in the audience and feeling the atmosphere around that, it's like, oh, it would be cool if we had a scene or, a show or something that had concert scenes and really try to capture through visual and audio how it felt to be there for real. Like, a lot of that kind of stuff comes from experiencing it in real life. That's why a lot of studios who, have bigger budgets will do, like, research trips and go places when they're gonna make content around a certain thing. It's because, like, experiencing it is always the best way to really, feel creatively inspired.
Agreed. So what advice would you offer to other aspiring creative individuals looking to get started in the industry or find their own artistic voice?
Yeah, definitely the biggest one is just start. Even if you feel like you're not ready, just start. Because there's always going to be a reason not to do it right now. Whether you're young or, you could even be like, 40. You could still start now. Like, there's never a bad time to start, and you are going to fail and you are going to make mistakes, but it's important to learn from those failures and mistakes. That's how everyone who does art got to be at the position they are now, is by failing and learning from it. So yeah, that's one of my biggest pieces of advice. Just start. You're gonna be bad at it at first, but eventually you will not be bad at it. So you really just gotta you have to really have that passion and drive to do it, because it's going to be frustrating at first. I definitely, because one thing I'm getting into still, and I've been trying to get into over the last like 2 years, is just like 2D art, just like illustrations, and it's been really frustrating because I'm not super good at it. But I have to always remind myself that I just need to do it over and over, and I'm gonna be bad at it, and I'm gonna learn from it, and eventually I think I'll be good at it. Another important thing for people who are wanting to get started is, like I mentioned earlier, just make friends in your field. Just talk to everyone else who does stuff in this space. They're gonna be really important in helping guide you through your creative journey. And also, you never know, those people could end up being collaborators or, even your best friends. Like, almost like so many of my friends that I hang out with, even just like outside of work, I met through some form of, they were in the animation field, and we talked through Skype or Discord or being on other projects or stuff like that. So make friends in your field. And another big one, I'm sure everyone knows this, and it's easier said than done, but try not to compare yourself to others. I struggle with this one a lot still. is I'll get easily demotivated when I see art from another person. It's like, dang, that's way better than me. Like, I don't think I can ever do that. It just seems like impossible, but it's important to just know that, no one really knows what they're doing. Even your idols, if you were to ask them, they would probably say they have no idea what they're doing, and they probably have an idol that they look up to that they, really aspire to, and it's like, oh, I could never do that. So it's important to do a reality check and just be like, everyone is just at a stage in their creative journey. You just don't have that much experience yet. That's why you're not there yet. You just got to keep going and you will get there. Then the last thing is just utilize the internet. For a lot of like art jobs, you don't even really need to go to college these days. It's not saying, if you really want to, you still can, but there's so much helpful stuff on the internet. There's like endless tutorials, workshops, talks from people who've done it. You can basically just, go to YouTube college and basically learn everything from just Googling and searching up tutorials on YouTube. That's how I learned everything I know, is just through the internet, and then just, gleaning things from other people that I work with. So yeah, I think that would be a lot of my advice there for people who are looking to get started.
See, Smirks, you just gotta do it.
Call me out like that.
This one over here is aspiring game dev, and I am determined to see him be successful. So I'm just being his motivator and behind the scenes.
Yeah, you gotta just do it. It's gonna, yeah. I mean, everyone knows, like everyone says, get started. It's easier said than done, but you just gotta get through the pain. Like, you're probably not gonna be good at first, but you will be good eventually.
Exactly. I use my own success as an example, just from the standpoint of I started streaming during COVID because I just couldn't find an output for anything, and this was an output. I went to school for musical theater, and I'm working in cybersecurity, and I'm trying to get out of cybersecurity so I can be doing what you're doing. I'm 35 years old and teaching myself all kinds of new stuff. Like, it's been a fun and crazy wild ride, but if you just start doing it, you will succeed at some point.
Yeah, it's a lot of trial and error, and you really need to be passionate about it to push through that.
Man, I always get inspired after these interviews, I swear. Gotta use that.
It's definitely the case for me when I started. Like, I would watch behind the scenes when I was like, 10 years old for movies like Monsters Inc. or stuff like that, and I was just like, I'm never gonna be this good. This is like magic. Like, I don't know how this is made, and I never will. But like, now at the point I am now, 10 years later, I can pretty confidently say I know how to make that. Like, I could probably make that if I tried. So it's like, in retrospect, it's a lot of learning over time and trial and error. But eventually, you'll find yourself like, oh, I can do it now. Obviously, there's always more to learn, but there will be a point where you're like, wow, I really have learned a lot.
What's a moment from your career so far that felt like a full circle moment or gave you chills?
Oh boy. I mean, a really basic one, I won't harp on this one too much because it's like not crazy, is just hitting 1 million subscribers on YouTube. Because when we started, we were like, a lot of our inspirations for at least getting into animating Minecraft stuff, because a lot of our history was doing Minecraft animations, there were a lot of other YouTubers we looked up to, like animation YouTubers like Slamicow or Blue Monkey or a couple names, Element Animation, a lot of Minecraft animators, and we were like, whoa, they have millions of subscribers. We'll never do that. But then, one day, years and years later, we hit 1 million subscribers, and that was super cool for us. That was like just a really big milestone for us. And now we're on our way to 6 million, so that's pretty cool. With subscribers, it's kind of like birthdays, where after you hit 1 million, everything past that point will never quite feel the same. Like, every subscriber milestone since then has not felt as cool as hitting 1 million. Kind of like after you hit 18 or 21, those like really important birthdays, all the other ones seem to kind of just fly by. Not to say I'm not appreciative, but it'll never have that same like, whoa, I did it kind of feeling. And then another full circle moment in my career. This one's a little more like funny, but a lot of our and when I say our, I mean me, Zachary, Andy, Seth Belanger, Zach Belanger, a lot of our old frequent collaborators that kind of helped start Mob. Our background was making music videos, Minecraft music videos based around like indie horror games like Five Nights at Freddy's or Bendy and the Ink Machine. So something that really felt full circle in a weird way was we made our own indie horror game, Poppy Playtime, and eventually it got so popular that we made our own Minecraft animations based on the hit indie horror game that we made. So that was really weird. Like that that felt like some cosmic strange moment that we were making Minecraft animations based off an indie horror game that we made ourselves. So that was a weird full circle moment. Like everyone internally was just laughing, just like, how did we get to this point? How are we making Minecraft animations based on something that we made? Like that feels so weird.
Looking ahead, what's something coming from ZAMination or Glitch that fans should be really excited for that you're allowed to tease?
Well, we have the rest of season 2 of Fazbear and Friends coming out over the course of the next like year, so I'm really excited for people to see that. The next episode that's coming out is going to reveal our first like truly original Fazbear and Friends characters that they're not based on Five Nights at Freddy's or any other existing IP. We're like introducing our own original characters into that show. So I'm really excited for people to see those characters. We teased them at MomoCon a little bit, so some people already know who they are. So that's really exciting. And this season of Fazbear and Friends is going to cap with some longer episodes again, kind of like Fazbear and Friends Extermination, where they kill everyone. So I'm really excited to get to that point where we do those finale episodes that are longer. And I know you said things that we can talk about, but Zachary and I are working on some really cool things at Glitch that I can't quite talk about yet, but they are things that are likely going to release this year, and it's some of the stuff that me and Zachary have had our biggest like roles in for Glitch so far, like the most creative direction on. But I can't exactly say what those projects are, but you'll see them eventually. Whenever they drop, we'll mention what it was.
Sweet, that's
Awesome.
exciting.
Yeah.
And now we're at the point where we start winding down. So, if you could go back in time and have a chat with little Micah, what would you tell yourself to prepare for the future?
Yeah, definitely a couple things. I would say to stand up for myself more. There's a lot of times I'm a very shy introvert person, and there have been a lot of times in my career where, you know, decisions have been made with people I work with throughout my career that I didn't necessarily agree with those things, but I was always too shy and nervous, and I wasn't very confrontational, so I didn't really say anything, and I never really stood up for myself. So a lot of stuff kind of happened that I could have helped, you know, steer in a different direction, but I didn't, because I was scared to speak up. But I've definitely learned since then to kind of stand up for myself and speak my mind more, and that's definitely one thing I would tell my younger self, is to kind of be vocal and just kind of stand up for what you feel and believe in. Then another one, again, kind of harping on something from earlier, but just don't compare yourself to others. I still struggle with this a lot, just, you know, there's so many talented artists out there, and just seeing how far along some people have come in their careers just feels really intimidating. Like, wow, I don't know if I'll ever get to that point, but yeah, it's important to be proud of what you have accomplished and realize that everyone you look up to probably looks up to someone else too, you know? So it's just kind of the art life. And then the last thing is just be kind. It's so important in life even, but especially in like workplace situations too, to just be kind and respectful, and just be emotionally intelligent about how people around you might be feeling, and just always try to be shining light and be supportive, because art is hard and a lot of people don't feel appreciated or, you know, will be demotivated. So it's important to kind of just be nice and supportive. We're all in this together, and it's going to be a lot easier if everyone is kind to each other. And I try to embody that as much as I can. Just, you know, showing love to everyone. So yeah, I think that's what I would tell myself. Stand up for myself, don't compare myself to others, and just be kind.
Getting to meet you at MomoCon, I can definitely tell that I honestly wouldn't known that you were more of an introvert because you actually approached me, which, I'm normally off to the side, kind of just like watching. And so when people approach me, I'm like, oh my God, someone's actually wanting to talk to me. So it was just like a big moment for me. So I appreciate it, and I appreciate you. And I appreciate you also wanting to spread kindness to the world, because I think it's an important thing that people should be doing.
Yeah, thank you. And, I don't want to come off as like egotistical or anything, but I've definitely learned from, especially like in my teenage years, I was not nearly as kind. I would always like poke fun at things or not really consider how jokes I would make would like affect people's feelings. And there's so many things that, I feel bad about that I wish I can go back and change. But I feel like I've grown and I've learned from that stuff. So, the best you can do is just learn from your mistakes and just be kind.
The most important thing. The last question to end all of this off: where can everyone find you on the interwebs?
Yeah, so I'm at ZAMination M on Twitter. It's just my personal Twitter. I don't use it that much. I'd say if you want to talk to me or stuff like that, the best place to find me is probably just on Discord in the ZAMination community Discord, because I like to talk in there a lot, just to to everyone in that community. My name is just Micah Preciado, all run together on Discord. It's also my Instagram, but again, I don't post on there that much. If you're gonna hit me up on Discord. That's where I am most of the time. And the ZAMination Discord, if you want to join it, is discord.gg/ZAMination. So if you wanna find me in chat, I will likely be there.
And where can everyone find you, Smirks?
Oh boy. You can find me on twitch.tv/SirSmirks. And on YouTube. Playing the Spring Trap religiously when it comes out. That's all I ever wanted.
And you can find me through my description. Micah, again, thanks so much for meeting with us. We really do appreciate you and everything that you and your team are doing. We wish you continued success, and I'm hoping at some point maybe we'll get to sit down maybe in a year and have another chat and see how things are going.
Yeah, for sure. That'd be awesome. Definitely hit me up like later. I'd love to talk again. And thank you for having me on. It feels like flattering to even be asked to do something like this. Yeah, thank you for having me on and asking cool questions. Definitely down to do it again.
Sweet.
Oh yeah.
Well, then we will talk to y'all later. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.
Say bye, Smirks.
Do I have to?
Yes.
Bye, Smirks.
Bye, viewers.